Hi friends, it's Julie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with just a really quick check-in video for you guys to let you know the books that I have finished over the last 2 weeks, the books that I'm currently reading, and the books that I plan on picking up very soon. The last 2 weeks have not been the best reading-wise for me. I've only finished 2 books. I'm almost done with one more, but you know, it was just busy. We had the holiday weekend. I had like a kids free anniversary weekend, which was fantastic, but I didn't get a lot of reading done. But like I said, I still managed to finish 2 books, and the first one of those was Pet Sematary by Stephen King. This is a horror novel, obviously, about this family who moves into this new home and they discover that on their property there is this old pet cemetery, and then once they discover the cemetery, weird and like terrible things start happening to this family. So overall, I enjoyed this. I thought that the story was pretty original. I liked the writing, I liked the characters, but I didn't, however, find this book particularly scary, and I think that's because this is more like supernatural horror than what I call like realistic horror. I don't know. For me, what I find most scary is things that I feel like could be real, like serial killers or stalkers or like diseases and like sickness that like spread like germs and stuff. Those are the types of things like really scare me because I feel like those are more realistic. And so I don't find books that deal with like ghosts or other like supernatural like demon possessions, things like that. I just don't find books like that very scary. But I can completely understand why some people find this book absolutely terrifying because it deals more with that supernatural horror. And I feel like horror as a genre, you just kind of have to find like your little niche, you know, the little things that scare you the most, and read books like that. So still overall, I enjoyed this. I just didn't find it like super scary. And I also think that I kind of ruined it for me a little bit because I went into this book expecting one thing and then it was totally not that. Like it went a completely different direction. And I guess I just wasn't expecting that because I swear I remembered as a little girl things that happened like in the movie, and so that absolutely terrified me, and so I kept expecting those things to happen in the book and they didn't. So now I'm starting to think that I may have had my horror movies mixed up, which, you know, happens when you're a little girl watching horror movies before you're supposed to. But anyway, that's like a whole other thing. I feel like personally I probably kind of hurt my own reading experience of this book a little bit. So I would still definitely recommend this if you are into like that supernatural horror, you know, like demon possessions, things like along those lines. That isn't exactly what happens in this book, but you know, things along those lines, then I would definitely recommend picking this book up because a lot of people really love this one. And then the second book that I have finished was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and I actually just finished this book yesterday. And I loved this story so much. I was really into it like at the beginning, and then I put it down for a few days because like I didn't read anything for a few days, and so I got kind of sucked out of the story a little bit. But when I finally picked it up again, I got right back in and I loved the ending. I'm pretty sure that this is my favorite classic that I've ever read. It's not a favorite book of all time, but definitely my favorite classic. I just really enjoyed Jane as a main character. I loved how feisty she was, and I could relate to her on a lot of, you know, things that she said and things that she did. We differ on a lot of things as well, but I just found her very relatable, and I loved her romance with Mr. Rochester. I loved that she found a family, you know, people to call her family. There was just so much about this book that I just absolutely adored. And if you haven't read this one yet, you know, and you're looking for a classic to get into, that I felt like this book was very easy to read in terms of classics, at least, you know, what I've read so far. I've read a couple Jane Austen novels, and I just found that I could get into this story so much easier and so much faster. I don't know if I'm just getting used to the language or if the language in this book is just a little bit more accessible. I'm not really sure there, but I absolutely love this and I would definitely recommend it. And then the book I'm currently reading is The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I'm sure I completely butchered his name. This is a Polish author, and this is the first book in the Witcher series. And if Witcher sounds remotely at all familiar to you and you play video games, that is because this is a very, very popular adult fantasy RPG game, but they are actually also it's a very popular book series in Poland. It's just a little bit more known here for the actual video game. And I have been playing Witcher for the last couple years and I love it. Geralt has become like my favorite fictional male character of all time. I absolutely love him. I don't think anyone else really compares to him for me. But I didn't even know that the video game was based off of books until about little less than a year ago. And when I found that out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to read these because I love adult fantasy, obviously. So I put them on my TBR, but for some reason I have put off picking them up. But that was until they released, well, Netflix announced that they're going to be adapting these books into a Netflix series. And I'm just so excited about that. And so, of course, they got bumped up on my TBR. I've been ordering them. I just ordered the second one in this today, so it should be here in 2 days, and I feel like I'm just probably going to marathon this whole series. So let me kind of stop gushing about it a little bit and tell you what it's about. So Geralt is the main character in the books as well as the video game, and he is what's called a witcher, which means he has like special physical and magical abilities that help him fight monsters and different things that kind of wreak havoc on villages, or he can lift curses more easily. He just has, you know, just heightened abilities when it comes to these things. And so he kind of travels around in his world, which is kind of like a medieval setting. You know, there's like castles and kings and queens and things like that. And he just kind of travels around, and people pay him for his services to get rid of these monsters. And that's just kind of like the baseline about what this is about. It's just full of really interesting characters. And like I said, Geralt is amazing. And the first 2 books in this series are actually short story collections. So this one and then the next one, which I'll be reading, which is Sword of Destiny, those are just short story collections. But I'm really enjoying them because they bounce back and forth and deal with like monsters that he's fought, and then, you know, kind of what's going on with him in the more present time, if that makes sense. So it's going back and forth, and we're learning like a lot of backstory, which they make reference to a lot of things in the video games that, you know, you just kind of go along with because you get little snippets here and there. But in this, I've gotten so much more backstory on Geralt and the world, and I'm loving it so much. I've just flown through it. And so I definitely recommend this one as well. If you like to read books before their adaptations come out, then definitely check this out. I'm loving it. And yeah, I hope if you pick it up, you do too. So those are all the books that I've read and what I'm currently reading. And up next, I will be reading 6 Wakes by Mur Lafferty. This is our book club pick for the month of June, and so I have to have this read by June 16th, so I'll be reading it very soon. And this is like a murder mystery thriller set in space and has to deal with clones, which just sounds really cool. When I read the synopsis of this book at my book club, everyone was like, yes, let's read that one. It was totally different than anything else that I had picked out, but yeah, should definitely be a fun read. And then going along with that, I'm really in the mood for a thriller. And so I'm going to be picking up Pray for Silence by Linda Castillo. This is the second book in her Kate Burkholder series, and I read the first book, which was Sworn to Silence, I believe last month, and just absolutely adored it. I loved it. It's a very dark thriller, and so I went out and checked this one out at the library like right away after I finished that one because I knew I wanted to read it and read it soon. I don't really know what the mystery is in this one, but that's okay. I'm just really excited to get back to these characters, and hopefully this one is pretty dark too. And I actually think I'll be reading this one before 6 Wakes. I think I'm going to try and squeeze it in this next week and probably start it this weekend. And then I'm also getting into another really big fantasy mood. So I'm going to be starting Sword of Destiny probably when it comes in or sometime next week, because like I said, I'm probably going to marathon that entire series. But then I'm also going to check with Katie from Life Between Words because we are buddy reading all of Robin Hobb's books together. And I really want to start Mad Ship, which is the second book in the Live Ship Trader trilogy, which you guys know I loved the first book. And so I can't wait to get back into this world. But I need to check with her and see when she wants to start this. And if we're going to put that off for a little bit, I want to pick up The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second book in her Broken Earth trilogy. I read the 5th season last month and loved it, so I just kind of want to continue on with the series. And I believe the 3rd book is coming out in August, I believe. So if I go ahead and read this one now, I won't have too long to wait until the final book comes out. But those are all the books that I've been reading and what I want to pick up very soon. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them. But I think that's it for the day, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you liked this video. And I will see you all again very soon. Happy reading. Bye.